Hi family, welcome to Tools for Success, a series about recovery from addiction. I'm Dr. Rob Bennett, the host for this series. And again, we're just talking about some concepts and some things that I have learned over the years during the course of my recovery and my professional career that has been very effective in helping move people from a destructive life to constructive life. So last time that we were on the show, we were really talking about what is a disease and why is it a disease, and that's all fine. It just really was to set a kind of a foundation for where we're going. We're going to finish up now really talking about the stages of treatment. I kind of mentioned those the last time when we were together. And now I want to really move in and fast forward this thing into how do I recover from this thing, because I think that's what most people are interested in. Like, give me the down and dirty, Rob. How do we get out of this? We don't need to conceptualize and theorize about those things, and those have their places. But I really want to give you practical steps, practical concepts to think about in order to move from addiction and all of its turmoil to recovery. Again, I went from high school dropout, person that was stuck in addiction, to a licensed mental health counselor and PhD. So really going through this full pendulum and really turning it all the way around. So I truly and honestly believe with everything in me that recovery is possible. And so I want to talk about all those different things, and hopefully you can get something and start to change your life if you're in addiction, and hopefully your family members can get some things that they can learn. I will always remind you of the tools. So I always ask the question, do we recover because we're strong and relapse and use because we're weak? The answer is no, it's because we use the tools. Always talk about, if you are here and this represents addiction, what do you have in the middle of that that's going to cause addiction to move away from you? And if you move those things away and start to hang out with Juicy, Jelly, Jammy, Lucky, Charmy, Yo-Yo, Flocko, Foggy, Smoothie, Pookie, Julio, Junebug, the woman with the crooked do-rag and bad hair weave, and Becky with the good hair and big booty, Judy from the double portions again, then addiction will be right on you. So last time we talked about the 3 stages of treatment. So we said there's detoxification, rehabilitation, and maintenance. So detoxification is just what you need after immediately discontinuing the use. It can be a medical emergency, and usually detoxes are about 7 to 14 days, and they really are just to manage the immediate withdrawal of use. So you may be confused and think, well, my person went to treatment 10 times. And really what they went to was detox 10 times. So they were medically stabilized from the withdrawal symptoms. I think that's the best way to say it. And that did not give them any additional stuff. Not that they didn't try to refer them to additional stuff. It's just not the purpose of a detox. The purpose of a detox is to medically stabilize a person that may be experiencing withdrawal symptoms. So it's going to have the least effect in the sense of whether they be able to kind of really move towards recovery, but it's going to have the greatest effect on preventing them from death, because certain substances you can die in withdrawal. Now, rehabilitation. rehabilitation is huge. That is your classic rehab. Used to be classic 28 days. Now it can be anywhere from 7 days out to 28 days. Sometimes a little further depending on insurances. But that's where you start to get the counseling and really the information and the skills needed to maintain your actual sobriety or your recovery. So really, rehabilitation is really that foundation building that you need. It's really a time for you to learn information. Now, I've worked in the field for a lot of years and seen people go in and out of rehab, and people may think, well, that's not working either. We can give people information just like I'm giving you right now, but it's up to a person to kind of receive the information and then take it and use it. I believe competency is a component of three things: knowledge, skills, and attitude. Knowledge. Do I have the information? All right. And rehab, that's what we're doing. We're giving you the information. The other two components, the skills and attitude to build competency, is things only that person, individual, can take on. So for instance, if I tell someone you need to get a sponsor, all right, that's someone that you are accountable to and that they're going to teach you how to do this recovery thing. Well, I can tell them all day and they can have that information. They can even receive that information. But if they don't go and get a sponsor and start to actually work with that sponsor, then just knowing it is not going to help them. And then the additional part is their attitude. What is their thinking about this whole thing? Because if their thinking is, I don't need a grown man or a grown woman to tell me what to do, then they're probably not going to work with the sponsor, and so it's just information, and they remain in a sense incompetent. So the purpose of rehabilitation really is to get you that information. Hopefully you can start to work on some of those skills and challenge your attitude so that you can get the basics or the foundation to build your sobriety or recovery on. And then you have that final component, which is maintenance on sobriety. And this really is, what are the steps? So it really is, what are the steps that are going to cause you to be successful in being really self-driven? So this is where the support and the maintenance and self-help attendance and getting a sponsor and reading the literature and all of those different things come into place. How are you going to keep this thing going? Basically, that's that tool thing I'm talking about. If you don't have, I'm not surprised. I'm never surprised when someone relapses if they haven't put the tools in place. Now, if they put the tools in place, now I have to say, well, how did you use it? But usually if someone relapses and they come back in my presence, I'm really talking about what are those tools? Did you have those things in place? And did you use them the way you were supposed to use them? And if you didn't, let's figure out why you're not using them so we can deal with that component of you and get you to a different place. So again, that was just kind of, I wanted to really wrap that up and really just tell you about those three components of treatment: detoxification, rehabilitation, and maintenance. They're very crucial to our ability to maintain this thing. So now I want to kind of switch focus and get into the meat of this whole thing. Really about how do I get to a place of recovery? Often when I tell people, man, I'm a PhD, and I went from the park bench and using dope and high school dropout and being destructive and hanging out on blocks and corners and stuff. How did I get to a place where I landed over here? I had to start with the simple things that we start all of our children with. The ABCs of recovery. So that's what I want to talk about this session, is really what is those primary things that I need to do, the basic things, the ABCs that's going to really jumpstart this recovery thing. So the ABCs of recovery is simple as this. Abstinence, so A stands for abstinence. B, behavior change. C, change in my thinking. And then the S, situational change. The juicy jelly jammy stuff. All right. So, I like to look at recovery sometimes as an equation. So, abstinence plus the steps equal recovery. So, abstinence plus the steps equal recovery. So, if I'm going to get to where I can use the ABCs, I'm first going to have to be abstinent. All right. So, well, what is abstinence? It's simply not using. Well, most people put that together, and then I will ask the question, well, how long do we not have to use for? And most of them say, forever, for, the rest of my life. And the truth is, I only have to not use just for today. Forever is too long of a concept for me to wrap my brain around. Even with 26 years clean and no desire or obsession to use, I still can't wrap my brain totally around not using forever. But I can wrap my brain around not using for today, just for today. At times, I'm not just going to use this moment. And then when the next moment comes, I'm just not going to use that moment. So the first part of the ABCs is the abstinence. I have to stop using. All right. Now, that can be challenging, especially with certain substances. So there are things to help people get through those withdrawal stages. Alcohol withdrawal is, and benzodiazepine withdrawal, the Xanax. Those are probably the most difficult or the dangerous things when you're withdrawing. So you can actually have a seizure withdrawing. Opiate, you're not going to die from the withdrawal, but it's going to feel like you're going to die. And if you see someone going through opiate withdrawal, it looks like they're in severe pain, and they are. But they're probably not going to die from the withdrawal. And I can see how families get so distraught with that. But if the person never practices abstinence, or if you're the person with addiction and you never practice abstinence, just for one day or just for this moment, you're never going to be able to get to the next parts of recovery. So that is what I had to learn how to do. How do I not use just for today? And what are the things that I need to do so I can be able to accomplish that goal? For some, it's going into treatment. Other people have found recovery in different ways, so I'm not going to say that it's just a cookie cutter approach. But what I will say is that is the first principle of the ABCs, is the abstinence. Not using. All right. The next part is the behavior change. So the B, behavior change. I cannot keep the same actions and think that I'm going to get to a place of recovery. I like to say I can't continue acting like Foolio and Fooliette and think I'm not going to have some chaos. All right? I have to start to change my behaviors. You know, I can no longer be this selfish, self-willed person, all about me, explosive, angry, doing all of those different things and think that I'm not going to go back to use. The C, change in thinking. I was sharing with someone not too long ago how my thought before getting clean was that I didn't have a choice but to use. Which I don't even know how I grafted that, but I started using at age 10, and I used from age 10 up to age 28. And so I developed with the concept of use, and I really had convinced myself, so my thinking, that I had to use and that I would use the rest of my life. Until I came into these different concepts and realized, wow, I don't have to use. And then I learned I didn't have to use no matter what was going on in my life. Now I'm at a place in my life, in my recovery, where I realize I don't even have the right to use. So my thinking had to change to, man, you don't have the right to use because that happened, or because that happened, because that happened. So really have to change my thought process. And my thought process really is the way that I reason about things. You know, so I had to change my reasoning. The last part is situational change. I like to call it the PPTs because it sounds more like a disease or something that I shouldn't be messing with. There are certain people, there are certain places and certain things that I just can't do anymore. I really need to replace that with new people, new places, and doing new things. All right. I had a bunch of people that had to cut loose, especially in early recovery. Even family members that I was very close with. I couldn't be around them at that time in my life because we weren't going down the same path. I was headed towards a recovery direction, and they weren't necessarily headed towards that direction. Not that they were doing anything dangerous or something, but what they were doing was dangerous to me. And so there's this, cell phones, they're always talking about the friends and family plan. Well, I had to change my friends and family plan if I was going to do this recovery thing. So situational change was huge. So those were the foundation pieces. Again, we're just really dealing with how do I start this thing? Just like a kid, you teach a kid the ABCs because it's the foundational principles to all learning that they're going to do. They're going to build from the alphabets to being able to read words, to being able to read sentences, to being able to do other concepts, to being able to do math, and then all the other subjects. So the ABCs is the foundational principles that's necessary in order to build a life of learning. And it's the same in this recovery piece. The ABCs are the foundational components necessary to build a lifestyle of learning how to recover. A, abstinence. B, behavior change. C, change in thinking. And S is situational change. So we're going to end on that note. Hopefully you got another concept about how to do this whole recovery thing. So glad that you tuned in. And remember, I look forward to seeing you. Do we recover because we're strong? Relapse and use because we're weak? No, we recover because we use the tools. Again, this is Tools for Success, Recovery from Addiction series. This is Dr. Rob Bennett, and I'll see you again next series. Have a great day.